This next chapter's about Teyo. Teyo Verada is a character new to the Magic universe, multiverse, and to this novel as a whole. He's basically your eyepiece, your little way of looking into the world of magic with if you have very little understanding of what's going on. He's a great character to kind of latch on to, get an idea of how things work. Teyo himself is, you find him, he's basically on this plane called Gobakhan, which appears to me to basically just be a diamond desert, which sounds cool, but if you think about it, diamond is super coarse and like will literally just tear you to shreds if it touches you. So basically he's what I believe they call him a shield mage. Yeah, he's a shield mage, so he's a mage who makes shields. And he's the worst of his group. He's at the bottom of the barrel. He's the runt to the litter. And everyone knows it, that is with him, all of his shield mates. But basically they're just going through the desert. They're trying to protect things from the sandstorms, diamond storms, sorry. The Darude sandstorms that are just going through and shredding everything that they touch. So Teyo starts to do his little shield magic stuff. He's the guy on the front right here. Well, I'll just put a picture up of him so you can see up close how Teyo looks. He's got like a little earring thing. He's a very stylish individual. He makes a light shield. So what winds up happening is that he basically just starts going on this journey with his guys, with his men, with his buddies, with his abbot, his apples. And basically the abbot's telling him, you're going to die if you don't pay attention. Stop looking up at the sky. And Teyo's like, well, but there's lights in the sky, and he doesn't really understand why there's lights in the sky that only he can see. I mean, maybe he got hit in the head too hard with the coconut or something. But the important thing is that those lights are beckoning him, calling him, pulling him out of Gobakhan. And he has no idea why that is. He doesn't really get any idea of what's going on because, of course, he does not know what a planeswalker is. And if you're not associated with magic in any way, you probably don't know what a planeswalker is either. So he is freaking out because he sees it and he's super distracted, and then all of his shields start failing, and then he's covered in sand and he starts being buried alive and he's choking to death, and things are just going really, really bad for him. I mean, it says right here that he struggled to move, struggled to breathe. Desperate and panicked, he forgot all his training and opened his mouth to suck in air, only to suck in sand instead. He was suffocating. It was completely dark. And yet it wasn't. The lights from before. The lights would be the last thing Teyo Verada ever saw. Then somewhere in his core, in the center of his heart vertex, he talks a lot about angles and stuff because that's his world. His heart vertex, an ember became a spark. There was a final burst of white geometry, which felt like death, as Teyo disintegrated into grains of sand. Now, that chapter technically ends there, but to explain to you what a planeswalker is basically an individual whose soul has a special component that allows them to basically go between planes. To describe what planes are, imagine you have 3 dimensions, right? You have length, you have width, you have height. And those 3 dimensions allow us to move around between those things. The 4th dimension, of course, being time, so we're constantly only able to move forward through time. Well, in the grander scheme of the way the multiverse works, there are extra dimensional things that go into the 5th, 6th, and 7th dimension. Well, between planes, there are what could be described as membranes. Imagine that everything in this universe is contained within a membrane, right? Well, if you were a planeswalker, you would have the ability to go through that membrane into the membrane of another plane, and you would be in a new place, a new world, a new idea of what is going on, right? But in between that is a space called the Blind Eternities, which is literally chaos. You can think of planes as being these ordered set structures of things. We have physics, we have chemistry, we have things that we can understand the rules of, right? Well, in the Blind Eternities, there are no rules. Up is down, left is right, nothing makes sense because inside is out. And if you try to take something, anything organic really, that is not a planeswalker or has a spark of some kind, it will be annihilated if it is organic. If you have clothes or weapons, stuff like that, that's okay. Or inorganic things, they can go through the blind eternities just fine. The problem really is the organics within. Say you had a jar full of plums. The plums would be reduced to ashes and the jar itself would be fine. It would just have a bunch of ashes inside of it. If you, for some reason, tried to take a dog with you, the dog would not be a dog anymore, unless the dog was made of rock, but that's another thing entirely. This chapter was basically just introducing Teyo and the fact that he is a planeswalker and that he is going to be on... He's going to have a terrible first trip. I mean, most planeswalkers, they have their, like, first, the ignition of their spark, they voluntarily go somewhere, and it's somewhere usually kind of connected to where they, to the character themselves. In the case of a certain character who was a dinosaur rider that was trying to find a city of gold, basically, she winds up going to a place called Kaladesh, which is literally just a city of bronze and just... It looks like a city of gold. Another character, Domri Raid, when his spark ignited, he went to the plane of Naya, well, Alara, which was basically, it's a bunch of different things connected. It's like an actual world. But Naya itself has a bunch of giant monsters, and he's very much like a woo monsters kind of guy. So, well, I think he has more of a oi kind of voice to him, but we'll get to that later. Or this one guy, Kithian. He's this guy on this basically in Greece, a Greek plane with like Greek mythology, and he winds up for his first planeswalk going to a place called Bant, which is where knights are and like heroes, and he's like, yeah, because he wants to be a hero. He needs a hero. Each planeswalker has a desire, really, something that connects them to the next plane. And in Teyo's case, I believe that the idea is that Teyo wants to be able to protect people, and he wants he's very geometry oriented, and both of those things go great in Ravnica because one, it's a city, so there's a lot of like very specific intricate structures in the infrastructure of the city itself, but also the fact that there's literally a war about to break out, and by calling him there specifically, he is able to better do that. Of course, there's also the fact that he's being literally drawn there by some kind of beacon that we will get into later on. But with that all said, thank you for watching this and listening to me tell you a bit about Teyo. And please leave any comments if you hate the Teyo joke. It'll be about 3 episodes before I find out that you'll stop the video immediately after that. But that's beside the point. Thank you guys for watching. And the next chapter will be about Chandra Nilar. And we get to actually go to Kaladesh. So I'll be able to tell you guys a bit about that. Until then, travel well.